Hello and welcome back to episode 6 of High Lit with Karhlyle Fletcher. I'm your host, Karhlyle Fletcher, and we've got new digs, new set, all that. This is actually a reshoot because I messed up on the video files, and apparently if you convert shit, it breaks it. So that's a little unfortunate, but we got the show ready for today. So let's just break in. There we go. Well, look, I'm in this corner now. Cool. So, could cannabis be better at treating kids with autism than traditional medications? So, you have a group of disorders, which I think that we all have a sense of, where it's like they're very difficult conditions, but they're not necessarily debilitating. I'm also going to keep fucking with this, I'm sorry. But they're also not debilitating in necessarily a way that means that this is a person who's not able to get into society. So it's like somebody who's autistic can, even like fucking Elon Musk went on SNL and said that he had Asperger's, and obviously that's a man who's at the top of society. So it's like saying that people who have these conditions aren't necessarily unsuccessful, are unfunctional. They're just different. And when you look at like common treatment for these things like ADD and ADHD, you give kids Adderall, right? Same shit for autism. You also give them antipsychotics. You can give them anti-anxieties. You can give them like a lot of just sort of high level stuff that ultimately I think is questionable whether they need, or if it's just like, hey man, like life's hard, So it's like this is a person who's going through difficulty, and that's kind of what you would expect. In the case study that I want to talk about here, you have a kid who was autistic, like this is what's going on in his life. This is the biggest issue. And he was on pills. Let me see if I can just... he was on lorazepam, clobazam, and lamotrigine. So like lorazepam and clobazam are both sedatives, and lamotrigine is an anticonvulsant. So this case study focused on like a 15-year-old patient in South Africa, and it was his mother who brought him in, and so the case study goes into the depths of it, but basically you have this kid who's like not able to socialize, he's not making friends, he's not connecting well, he's being aggressive towards his mother, he's being aggressive towards the people around him, he's not wanting to talk, and he's just very like disconnected from the world around him. Yet like all the medicine that they're giving him, some of them are increasing suicidal ideation. This is like 28 pounds in a year. He's getting fatter, and this is like a 15-year-old dude. Like 15-year-olds are just wired to want to fuck, break things, and waste money. So it's like the idea of adding 28 pounds to a kid, like, dude, like, if I added 28 pounds to myself, I'd feel fat. And I could honestly, I could accommodate it, So it's like, I don't know, like when you're looking at like the cost of medicines like this, it's like that social damage, that like damage to the self-image might be worse than the just like if it's like a low-level autism, So like that's where it's like very critical of this stuff. I don't know if it is the I don't know if it's the right choice. So yeah, also just excuse me for 1 second. Oh, yep, fucking dry nose. So point is, he was this is like serious treatment. This is a 15-year-old. It's obviously not working out for him. They're giving him all this medication that's like, it's like he has selective mutism, so this guy's just not talking. And it's like, we don't know why this is happening. It's not something that like just happens in his family. This is just a kid who just, came out a little strange. Not a little strange, but just like different than you would expect considering the rest of his family history. But the point is, after getting 4 milligrams of CBD and 2 of THC with no side effects reported, you got this kid. He's not only got a job, he's holding down friends, and he's dating. So you're getting this 15-year-old who's feeling isolated. His pills are making him vomit. They're making him fat. They're making him feel less connected to society. And then you give him, I'm pretty sure, a edible, so like an orally administered dose, and all of a sudden this guy's like, socially, he's totally in it. He's totally in it, and he's not dying. He's not sick. He's not getting worse because of medication, but he's still also improving his life. So where I see weed really shining is in that gray area of mental treatment, where it's like, because there's like other, well, I mean, let's see if we can just speed run pulling up a certain thing, a certain study that was recently. Yeah, so it's like, like we have like current studies coming out, like real recent, about like how you have the comparison to of cannabis to like pain medications, and like here you're having it replace like anticonvulsants and like anti-anxiety, anti-psychs, like that sort of stuff. It's like I'm looking to replace those sorts of medications. I'm not looking to replace like it's not a miracle drug. It's not gonna it's not gonna regrow limbs. It's not gonna put your family back together. It's not gonna make your job better, but it might make things a little bit easier for you so that you can hold down a job. So it's like, it's really that gray area of things we don't know how to treat. Autism, we don't know how to treat. Chronic pain, we don't really know how to treat. You can say you can give people painkillers, but what that does is it makes the body more resistant to higher levels of pain, so you're just increasing the pain response over time. But I'll look more into the cannabis and how that affects pain over time, so I can like have more confidence in that. But I have way more belief that that's going to work out better for you than opiates. Yeah. So when you have like this kid on autism, or when you have this autistic kid on cannabis, his anxiety went from a 10 to a 3. His irritability went from a 10 to a 2. His aggressiveness is at a 0 out of 10 after cannabis. His talkative went from a 0 to a 4, and his concentration improved a little bit. And like, I just think that like stuff like this really highlights the alternative of what it could be. Because we have another thing, sorry. We have another study coming out of molecular autism, which found that compared to placebo, over double people given cannabis found that whole plant extracts saw their disruptive behavior become either improved or much improved. And it was conducted on 150 patients between the age of 5 and 21. More specifically, the mean average was 11.8 years old, the median was 11.25, and 80% of participants were male. So, with this, you have the young male demographic, specifically the autistic young male demographic, I think is very important to highlight, because you have what is, in effect, a very at-risk population within the society. But yeah, fucking this camera, dude. It is fucking with me. Sorry. Give me a second. This is my show. This is okay, cool. And then like maybe we can. No, it's not letting me fuck with that well either. Ah, there we go. Right now, there's no. Okay, cool. But point is, this is a very difficult condition in the modern era, because you have all these different movements, like the isolation and balkanization of society, which is going to further make it difficult for people to connect. So when you have something like autism, which is already a difficulty communicating with people, and then you put that on top of a society which is like the inherent social structures are falling apart, you're gonna have a shit show. And I would say, like, when you have like the rising young male demographic, suicide demographic, and I'm pretty sure it's the leading cause of death for young men. I think that issues like this should be at the forefront. So it's like when you're talking about weed helping young men get through depression and make more friends and be firmer in their relationships with their community, I think we need to start paying attention, because that's where I think you can really turn people's lives around. You can really start to reach them and bring them and include them into society. I know I keep using the meme word. But yeah, so that's this. I think it's a beautiful study. I'm really into it. So this story is published by me, by the way. I wrote this. This is originally published in the Fresh Toast. Wonderful paper. I also so I'm going to reference some more of my work here. This is something I want to go into later. But it's OCD and cannabis therapy. It's recent studies that are kind of similar on the autistic topic. And also, like, we're just talking about these, like, medications, but it's like, you know, like, side effects of, well, what are we looking up? Side effects of antipsychotics. I can tell you, I got fatter. I was vomiting up white stuff from my stomach. My mood was it was strange. So drowsy, dizziness, restlessness, weight gain, dry mouth, constipation, nausea, vomiting. I mean, there's the type 1 antipsychotics, and there's type 2, generation 1, generation 2. And, like, I would say both of them are a little, ooh. So, antidepressants, side effects of antidepressants, nausea and vomiting, weight gain, diarrhea, sleepiness, sexual problems. Like, I'm sorry, I've not experienced these smoking weed. And, I mean, like, it's just funny because it's like, I don't know, people, I feel like, just have this really misguided view of weed where it's like, they're like, yeah, normal kids just go around smoking weed and it just doesn't help them out, you know, like, just, like, you know, it's like my fucking beautiful kid started smoking weed and then he just was bad. I also got to track down another piece of research where let's see if it's just around. No. But there's a piece of research which found that it's more likely that there's a correlation between schizophrenics and smoking weed, not a causation. So it's like there's people who are already on the schizophrenic spectrum who are attracted to smoking weed. It's not that people smoke weed and become schizophrenic. So it's like all these, it's a very misaligned substance. And the reason why I find that frustrating is because it's like you can be functional and smoke weed. And I'm highlighting it for niche use. Child epilepsy, child autism, OCD, ADHD, pain management, all these things where we don't really know what to do. We just throw pills. Because, I mean, like, look at it. And, like, the thing that frustrates me about this is that this is seen as only really a progressive topic. But, I mean, like, just look at it. Like, it's like, if you have the pharmacological industry, right? This is a huge fucking business. There's no small mom and pop's pill shop. You know? Like, it's like these are pill farms. So you got those people who are trying to sell these products, which are pills, to people. So it's like if you have something where it's like, so you have somebody who's depressed, and like say I come from the literary tradition, I come from classic literature. Feelings are normal. You know, it's like your city gets burned down, you're beating your chest until you fucking bleed. You're screaming, you're clawing your skin open, you're writhing on the ground. Like, emotions and drama and feeling are perfectly healthy parts of life. So the idea that you'll go to therapy after, like, you know, you saw your father be dismembered, and then, like, you'll take some pills and be less sad. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're just trying to sell people these pills because you don't know what they do to the brain, but you know enough about what they do to the brain that they'll keep people in these sorts of feelings. So it's almost like you're putting them into a level of stasis, is my opinion on this. Again, I'm not a medical professional. Take none of these are suggestions. This is an infotainment show. This is a comedy show. The whole, like, the 4chan disclaimer, you know. Everything is a work of fiction. But, you know, so it's like when you're looking at that, you're looking at pills that are designed like that, so that they'll stay on them. You want the autistic kid to be taking Xanax for the rest of his life. You want the bipolar person to be taking Lamotrigine or Latuda for the rest of their life. You want the schizotypal to be taking antipsychotics for the rest of his life. Like, you want that to be lined up as a pill company because it makes you the most money. You want a environment and you want a society of sickness and of illness and of consumer culture so that you'll always make money. So when we're talking about smoking dope, we're talking about the opposite of that, dude. Like, we're talking about local farmers. We're talking about taxable income that can go directly to roads and schools. We're talking about something that you can provide from your environment, and we don't need to import, that you can use to treat conditions that are being predated upon. That's where I get frustrated, that argument, I feel like, falls on deaf ears for anybody who's not inside the weed politics, or like the weed political arena. Is that it's like, dude, I don't feel like that's a very far left opinion. I feel like that could be pretty mainstream if you just thought it through, you know, because it's like, I feel like it's just, come on, guys, you know, I don't think it's that fucking bad. How badly do you hate hippies that you can't let that just, you know, that happen? But anyways, this is another study that I want to go through later. And then, so, interesting numbers coming out of the U of M. Kevin of the University of Michigan. So U of M, Kevin in the University. Oh, sorry. To be a little bit more organized. I wrote this. This is my article. Same people, Fresh Toast. Go check them out. I freelance for them, so everything I sent to them, I submitted. So these opinions and reporting are my own. So Kevin of the University of Michigan led a recent study published in the Journal of Cannabis Research that focused on the relationship between physician and patient. Of 275 participants who answered an online survey, about 80% reported that their primary physician knew that they used cannabis. So 4 out of 5. So 4 out of 5 talked about smoking pot with their doctor. Only 14%, so less than a finger, obtained their medical cannabis authorization from their doctor. Additionally, 86% of participants reported substituting cannabis for pharmaceutical medication. 86%. 69% of those who substitute reported they did not immediately tell their doctor. 44 had still not informed their doctor. 74% of participants reported that they never saw the person who authorized them for medical cannabis ever again. 87% of those substituted cannabis for another medication reported doing so in their own experience, while only 18% said that their doctor advised them to do so. Another survey, this time for the doctors, found that 34% of them knew that cannabis was a Schedule 1 drug. 68% knew that it was federally illegal, and 65% could correctly identify the legality of cannabis in their state of residence. So it's not only due to a lack of patient education, the doctors also don't really know what's going on here. So, it's just difficult because none of it, culturally, we just haven't got, a clear view of it, which is really, that's what we're doing now. That's what we're trying to build with this show. The further cannabis is legitimized through the standardization and the spreading of information, the more likely positive treatment outcomes are. So let me break it down for you. I support rec cannabis because I want people out of prison. I do not support recreational cannabis philosophically. I don't support it as as a culture or a vibe. I support it because then it makes it harder for people to be prosecuted for cannabis. Basically, that's the reason why I voted for it. So that's just a full disclosure on my part. I really believe in the medical aspect of it because it's I think that there's also studies. I could just search that up. I mean, I guess I will. So, study, what is it? Most cannabis use is medical. So let's just see if we can find this quickly. What is the scope? National survey. So I can't find it, but there's been some research and some conversation about how the majority of people are using it for medical reasons. But when people ask about it's what? It's just weed, man. It's just not serious. Where's the information? Where's the work getting done? Bro, fuck you. Sorry, I'm mad about this because there are people who I fucking respect who just don't do the work on this, and it's dude, this is literal science. I go through this stuff a lot, and I'm trying to figure out the most convenient way to break this down for the show. But this is one of my favorite studies because it covers the co-use of cannabis and tobacco. So this is the University of Texas. And it's one of my favorite. I think there's a series of 2, but it's one of my favorite studies. And I'm gonna go through one of the authors' work later on the show because she's kick-ass. But so one of the points in this study is that you have to control for nicotine-only use, cannabis-only use, nicotine and cannabis use, and then controls. So the categories that they have are these 4. Because they found, so it's you got your nicotine, cannabis and nicotine, and then your controls. This is because they found, it's 60 to 70% of cannabis users. That's combined use. So 60 to 70% of people who smoke weed also smoke tobacco. And they also found that these are associated with smaller hippocampus sizes and different effects with gray matter and things like that. And this is possibly related to neurotoxicity of the effects of both, and so that's the general thing that they're going in. And then they did this with memory scores, and like also they used a brain imaging machine. Yeah, it was the 3T TIM Trio scanner. So they had like that going on as well. And what they eventually found, I'm just gonna skip to the discussion because I feel like we should do streams of going through one study, but like the show should stay a little bit more, So individually and combined with tobacco, cannabis users had smaller hippocampal volumes compared to tobacco users and non-using controls. We also found different differential associations between brain and behavior such that small hippocampal volumes were associated with poorer memory functions for control, poorer memory performance for control. So you had a smaller hippocampus, and then it made the controls, their memory, it made it function or perform worse. While in people who smoked cannabis and tobacco together, so people who used both, smaller hippocampal volumes were linked to relatively higher memory scores, which is like a really fascinating piece of this. And, obviously it's not like a super fucking brain thing. The cannabis, they had the lowest memory performance out of all the groups, but apparently the ones with the smaller hippocampus did better, So ultimately, the conclusion of this is that we need to have more of the specified study of it, and I do think that is brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a brilliant study. I'm really fucking... I'm in love with this work. I'm in love with this team. So I just wanted to highlight that as a story, and I think that is enough of the serious stuff just to, give us foundation for this section. I just hit my chain. Oh no. Welcome to summer. It's fucking hot, right? So now, let me welcome you to a little bit of pushkin. Yup. So this is translated by a name I can't pronounce. Isn't that cool? So, well, maybe I should how do I move that over there? I don't know. I could copy and paste it and then try to say it to the cat. Well, no, fuck it. I'll just say it this way. Of desert lands, the freedom planter. Of desert lands, the freedom planter. Before the star, I rose to sow. Into the soil, enslaved and scanter, my pure and guiltless hand would throw the seeds of vigor and fruition, but only wasted good ambition in time and labor doing so. Graze on your pasture, peaceful nations. Mishonor's call and slumber's grip. Why freedom? Herds have these vocation. Be meat to slay or wool to clip. They pass along through generations, a yoke with rattles and a whip. So, I think that poem's fucking badass. Just because it's it's one of the greatest poets to ever live, and he's just you can't save the world, bro. People don't want to fucking fix themselves, so it's you can't fucking do that for them, There's something about surrender and futility and accepting the limits of the fact that it's no matter how much you love your country, you can't save it. It's you just can't. Not all of us can be Napoleon, and Napoleon didn't even save shit. I know it's translation, but I do think his rhythm and his pacing is very good. There's something so much more decent about a Pushkin poem, or even Eugene Onegin, or Yevgeny Onegin, because it's just I really appreciate the pacing of it, and it's decent. It's not too much, it's not too long. It's just a healthy amount. I feel so. Introduction to Pushkin. He's I think it's technically the Silver Age of Russian literature. One of the best poets to come out of there ever, if not the best. Very important historically. If you study Pushkin, you'll have it's essentially Homer for Western lit. So it's he's their Homer. They're also Western lit, but still yeah. What we're breaking into now. So I didn't find PDFs of these because I couldn't. but we're just going to keep her moving. Sorry. And we're going to start off with some liberals shit. Let's see. It was page 333 in the Pivar translation of The Idiot. The Pivar and Volhonsky. Yep. So, but I am not saying anything against liberalism. Liberalism is not a sin. It is a necessary part of the whole, which, without it, would fall apart or atrophy. Liberalism has the same right to exist as the most well-mannered conservatism. What I am attacking is Russian liberalism, and I repeat again that I attack it essentially because a Russian liberal is not a Russian liberal, but is a non-Russian liberal. Give me a Russian liberal, and I'll kiss him at once right in front of you. I so maintain, all of the Russian writers have managed to say something that is actually his own, not borrowed from anyone. Those same three thereby immediately became national. Whoever of the Russian people says, writes, or does something of his own, is inalienable and unborrowed, inevitably becomes national, even if he speaks Russian poorly. For me, that is an axiom. But it wasn't literature that we started talking about. We were talking about socialists, and the conversation started from them. Well, I so maintain that we don't have a single Russian socialist. We don't and never had any, because all of our socialists also come from the landowners or seminarians. All of our interveterate, much advertised socialists, here as well as abroad, are nothing more than liberals who come from landowners and from the time of serfdom. Why do you laugh? Give me their books, give me their tracts, their memoirs, and I undertake, without being a literary critic, to write a more persuasive literary critique, in which I shall make it clear as day that every page of their books, pamphlets, and memoirs has been written first of all by a former Russian landowner. Their spite, indignation, and wit are as a landowner, even pre-Famuzian. Their rapture, their tears, real, perhaps even genuine tears, but they're landowners. Landowners are seminarians. Again, you laugh. And you're laughing too? First of all, what is liberalism, generally speaking, if not an attack? Whether reasonable or mistaken is another question, on the existing orders of things. Isn't that so? Well, so, my fact consists in this, that Russian liberalism is not an attack on the existing order of things, but is an attack on the very essence of our things, on the things themselves and not merely on their order, not on Russian order, but on Russia itself. My liberal has reached the point where he denies Russia itself. That is, he hates and beats his own mother. Every unfortunate and unsuccessful Russian fact evokes laughter in him and all but delight. He hates Russian customs, Russian history, everything. If there is any vindication for him, it is perhaps only that he doesn't understand what he's doing and takes his hatred of Russia for the most fruitful liberalism. Oh, and who among us you will often meet a liberal whom all the rest applaud, and who is perhaps in essence the most absurd, the most obtuse and dangerous conservative without knowing it himself. Some of our liberals still not long ago took this hatred of Russia for all but a genuine love of the fatherland, and boasted of seeing better in others what it should consist of. But by now they've become more candid, and have even begun to be ashamed of the words love of the fatherland, have even banished and removed the very notion as harmful and worthless. That is a true fact, I'll stand behind it, and someday the truth has to be spoken out fully, simply, and candidly. But at the same time, it is such a fact as such has never been or occurred anywhere, in all the ages, among any people, and therefore it is an accidental fact and may go away. I agree. There could be no such liberal anywhere as would hate his own fatherland. How then can all this be explained in our own country? In the same way as before, that the Russian liberal is so far not a Russian liberal. There is no other way, in my opinion. And it's the ice cream man's coming by. That's fucking, well, it's hot, so that makes sense. So, I think that passage is very relevant to today, because my biggest issue with Western civilizations and Western people is ingratitude, where people simply don't understand the sophistication of their biases and the sophistication of their mindset. They don't understand that the things that they think require you to have thought things before that you take for granted, and that people died to do those things. You know, it's like the idea of like ancestor worship is true for everybody. You know, it's like we all have ancestors and we all should appreciate what they handed down to us, whether that be your eyebrows, or that be a way of life. And you know, it happened in Russia with the downfall of Imperial Russia, where it's like, I think that imperialism is bad, obviously. Empire is bad, obviously. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you need to abduct and rape the Romanovs to death. You know? That doesn't mean, you know, it's like you could have just voted them out of power. Mm-mm. But I do think that there is something very important about that homelessness, where it's like, so there's the thing that I think that people really miss, that being trained in Dostoevsky literature really brings into the forefront, is that everybody is very, very obsessed with the idea that they have these new ideas, that things have never been tried before, that like, now we can end it all. You know, I'm the hero. I'm the hero of history. I can save morality. I can fix it. Just give me a chance. Put me in, chief. You know, and it's like, dude, like, you really think that there was no one with a heart before you? You really think that there was no one with a brain before you? I don't know. That's kind of hard for me to swallow. Because it's like you know, like the equality between man, that's humanism. I have that one pulled up too. So like, let's see, like, let's just look up equality. What? No. What? Human. No, that's alien. So it's human nihil ami alien puto. So meaning I'm a human being, I think nothing human alien to me. So it's like saying that because I'm a human, everything else that is human is the same as me. Kind of like the inner light argument, where it's like, you know, all human life is related. And this is also from them studying the classics and learning the difference between their collapsed structure and then like the perfection of the antiquity, and then like they use that to then start the Renaissance, because they were like, all right, so like we're going to use that as a critique of the way that we do things, and we're going to take their study of order and then update that so that we can make something great. And like that's like it's I don't know, man, like I just get frustrated with the idea. I feel like it is ingratitude and just being unstudied that people think that their criticisms of society, like, just look at the critics of capitalism too. That's a fun fucking thing to go down. And you know, so again, like, yeah, so I just keep in mind pretty much nothing's new. As Delacroix says, the old is the newest thing of all. The old is the newest thing of all. And as Lermontov says, every young man fancies himself an old sage. So I would just put those two things together and just say, like, if somebody is under 30 trying to fix the world, maybe don't put your faith in them. Maybe not. I'd say put your faith in industries. That's where it's like, I really support cannabis, because again, getting people off opiates, getting people off of anti-psychs, getting people off of alcohol, all of these things are the goal with supporting cannabis. That's the advocacy. It's not like I'm putting you got to put your faith in something that's happening, and then that can cause good and bad things. You can't really just put it into, like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I would say just try to restrict the religious ideology. One of the studies that I showed pro weed is that it shrinks your brain. You know, so it's like, I'm fine with having a shrink brain, bro. I got PTSD. I need less memory. I mean, fucking take it at your own risk. I'm very honest. Don't smoke weed. I smoke weed. It works for me. If it works for you, you figure that out on your own. I don't support that, but smoke weed because it works for you, and that's what you've decided. So like, everybody has their own agency. I don't support any use or non-use or whatever. But this is just advocacy coming from the point of having a positive experience with it. You know, so I'd say, like, focus on stuff like that. Don't focus on, like, what seems hip or, like, what seems rhetorically sound. Rhetoric is basically the art of lying. Trust me, I'm a writer. So let's see. Impossible crimes. So this is another thing, is that it's like, it's like we live in a very placid age where it's like we haven't really seen, like, humans be pulled apart by horses or, like, public executions or, like, anything that's, like, truly horrible. You know, it's like it's been pretty decent for a while. Some people have shitty lives and they're exposed to really awful things, but at least in like, I'd say for like 70% of America, maybe 80% of America, it's just not that bad. It's not that bad. You might be hungry, you know, but you're not like at risk of being invaded. So impossible crimes, but I assure you that exactly the same crimes and perhaps still more terrible ones existed before and have always existed, not only here but everywhere, and in my opinion will occur for a very long time to come. The difference is that before we had less publicity, while now we've begun to speak aloud and even to write about them, which is why it seems as if these criminals have appeared only now. That's your mistake, an extremely naive mistake, I assure you. There are even more horrible criminals than this one, who have killed 10 people and do not repent at all. But at the same time, I noticed this. The most inveterate and unrepentant murderers still know that he is a criminal. That is, in all conscience, he still considers that he has done wrong, though without any repentance. And every one of them is the same. But those whom Yevgeny Pavlovich have begun speaking about do not even consider themselves criminals and think to themselves that they had the right and even did a good thing, or almost. That, in my opinion, is what makes the terrible difference. And note that they're all young people, that is, precisely of an age where they can most easily and defenselessly fall under the influence of perverse ideas. So the idea here is that it's like, you know, if you're a sinner, at least you think you're a sinner, but these people, like when you fall, so people don't have ideas have people. And if you fall victim to a idea, then it uses you and causes you to commit these acts that you believe are good because of the ideological backing, even though they are by definition evil. You know, so it's like that's the idea, is that like this so when we were talking about the Russian liberal, the idea is that it's a non-Russian liberal. Because what is a Russian liberal? A Russian liberal is somebody who has strong moralities, that is a unique man. And what does that become? That becomes a classic Russian. You know, that's your Peter the Great, that's your Pushkin, that's your, like, you know, excellent man who is a figure in history. But when it comes down to the young men, their uniqueness is not unique, it's foreign. Because something that is unique in Russian is a Russian treasure. So that's the point. That's like an interesting, or like not an interesting, but that's something to unpack, is that the idea is that it's like if you have an outsider in Russian culture and like they really dedicate themselves into building a form like Gogol, then that man becomes a foundation of Russian culture and everybody follows his example, even though he was an oddball. Pushkin is the same. Like, you know, it's like the coming together of those people to set out on a path then led for every Russian to take that path. Uniqueness becomes part of the people. But what these people, or what these Russian liberals are looking for in originality is just foreignness. You know, they're importing Japanese wallpapers. They're like, it's funny, they were the original weebs, kind of. But, you know, it's like they're importing all these, like, German ideas. They're, like, getting into all these things, like, you know, really, like, Shakespeare. They're really digging, like, Italian suits, and, like, everybody's learning French, you know. It's like very much this outside-leaning culture, and then everything that is seen as, like, original is just actually taking from somewhere else and then putting it into the Russian culture. It's not unique. It's not a strange thing, because then that would just be accepted by the culture and naturally assimilated into it, and that would help it grow. Because, like, again, liberalism is natural, but, like, this sort of ahistorical, unstudied, venomous, angry thing is not liberal, you know? Because it's like, just because somebody calls themselves the Democratic Republic of the Congo doesn't exactly mean that they're a democratic republic. So paradise on earth is not easily achieved. But all the same, you are counting on paradise in a way. Your paradise is a difficult thing. Much more difficult than it seems to your wonderful heart. So he's talking about forgiveness and things like that, and like there's just supposed to be like, you know, it's like this basically, it's like the idea that like people are good and we just like love each other, then we'll get like a, you know, society that everything will turn out all right, man. And it's like I don't know about that one, chief. You know, it's like the reality of life is that you just do your best. Because like one of the concepts that I really appreciate, also, so like so one of the concepts I really appreciate in being studied in Dostoevsky is that the good isn't necessarily good. The path to hell is paved with good intention is the best axiom we have in this language. But so it's like even if you have a bleeding heart and you want the most to just give to this family, it's like you're just like, oh my god, there's like an alcoholic father and like 3 daughters and like an invalid mother. I need to like help this and fix this. So here's $20,000. And then like the father just drinks that away. The kids end up having to like fucking play the accordion in the street for like fucking like begging shit, and then like the mom just ends up like beating all the kids with a fucking spoon because that's the only like it's like your charity can easily go astray. You can easily be fucking things up when you're trying to help. I think that that's a very important thing. It's sort of, as a teenager, it fucks with you. I think it's one of the first like rites of passage is to understand that your actions have consequences and trying to comprehend that you can't fully picture the consequences because you can't see the future, but you should have an understanding enough to take a good guess. And then like you have to also accept consequence, mistakes, and the consequences from those mistakes, and you have to take that with an open hand and be willing to accept fault and try to do better. And I think that that is like a very important moral lesson that I got out of these books that I think is a really cool one. Or it's not cool, but like, it helps me accept life better. Another thing is that community, our communal values, I think is another thing that's really it makes life worth living, essentially. And it's not like it's like I feel like the Christians have always been harping on it, but I feel like the idea is like just think less. Thoughts and feelings are demons. Language was a mistake. Humans should have just stayed fucking animals because it's easier and you're happier. But so the reason why I just say all that is that it's like just like feed somebody, man. It's like your community. I live in a city, bro. It's like I don't know, like both my parents are dead, so I live with 2 people who don't have like one of their parents are both dead, and like the other person doesn't really have a relationship with it. It's like you end up attracting people, the law of attraction, all that hippie bullshit. You end up attracting people who are similar to you, who have life experiences with you or like you. So it's like all the things that you've learned to apply to your life that make you feel more competent and better, and like you can handle things. You can like share those lessons, man. Just try to like bring people up with you, and just try to like bring the world to a better place to the best of your abilities. And I feel like you're just gonna see that your life's more worthwhile and makes more sense. Like you don't even need to make it into like a spiritual practice as much as it's like just simply doing it will prove to you enough that there's something there. And I think that all that comes kind of like all that will fill in as you do it. And so that's the end of the literary section. We do got another thing, but I guess we're just doing that next episode because I had to reshoot the Tuesday. Shout out Logo Daedalus Arkham. Fucking great guy. Really fucking funny, talented, smart. We're gonna get a book of his on the show too. But yeah, just Logo _ Daedalus on Twitter. Shouts out that guy. Shouts out Flight Patterns in Ann Arbor. Shouts out Dogleg. Obviously shouts out the scene in GR, because that's who I'm going to put links with them. I don't really know what we're doing with this section. What I want to do is I want to do submissions. So if anybody wants to submit stuff, what I'm really looking for, animations, music, and we can do some writing, but like I'm trying to do the classic literature study on this show because I feel like it's like I'm trying to like build tools. Another one, what should happen does happen. That's another phrase that I just internalized that I think that is important to have around. But yeah, so I'm just doing a kind of a dense literary study because I think that if I can help people get introduced to some of these concepts, it'll just be good. I think they're just good things to have rolling around. But for this stuff, yeah, I'm just trying to, shouts out the fam. This is like some 2013 era emo, so I am dating myself, but this shit is the shit. I love running shoes. Most people I've shown them to like them. It's Midwest emo. It's Crybaby Wah Wah. And what I really like about Midwest emo is that it's like melodic hardcore where the guitar went melodic and the voice stayed hardcore, But it's like, it's a really, this is gonna be funny. I feel like it's kind of it's almost like a liberated, hardcore. Because I honestly, I see everything as post-hardcore, you know, because it's like emo's melodic hardcore, and then it's like fourth wave emo is the fourth wave of melodic hardcore with like all these different elements. It's fucking, but it's you know, like it's post-hardcore. Fuck it. But what I see it as is that I do really like 2-minute songs, and their Running Shoes doesn't hit that all the time. We got 2 4-minute plus tracks on this, but they break away from the sort of, you know, like power chord, like da, 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 and like they get towards like a more melodic, almost Spanish style of like intricate guitar play, and like it's more chill. So it's like, it's just sort of like, yeah, I guess it's that indie influence, but there is just sort of this it's still like overwrought with like this sort of like obsessive, self-critical character who wants to flee from home, who wants more than anything to just go on that big adventure and matter into the world, to find it and fucking, you know, just like really be out there, but also just can't fucking leave because it's not that bad. It's not that bad, you know, like it's just rampant. It's not that bad. So I feel like that's just like a funny like push pull in the genre. These guys, it's like I would say like, if you like pop punk, these guys will make sense to you. They're not going to be as fun because it's more again it's crybaby wow wow music. The emotion's definitely the center. Where I'd say like, why do I listen to the genre every day? Because it's cathartic, and I feel like it does just process emotions for you. I feel like it's a very honest genre, and that they just deal with their feels. That's what I've always appreciated about them. And yeah, man. So they got like, this is what I would recommend. I gotta fucking do my hand gesture over here, but this is what I would recommend as definitely the starting point. Their 2012 release, the guitar riff on the intro to this one is also quite good. 3 years, I think, is their longest. Yep, and this is very good as well. I don't know if there's repeats on it, but then they also have this. Split. Good. I don't know. They're not still active, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, because the last thing was in 2015. But yeah, it's 2012 to 2015. That era in Grand Rapids emo was fucking incredible. It was incredible. I grew up with Running Shoes and also really the Exploration. The Exploration are my fucking boys. They're just the guy has a new band now, but this band, it was so we got like 2009 to 2013. This is the one that I started off on. This one, 10 songs. This one, 4 songs. I think that this one does repeats. Yeah, it does repeats because it's I think I closed out that. But yeah, this one does repeats because this is just it's a, what is that? What compilation? So yeah, love this band as well. There's something about it where it's like the instrumentals. It's hard to call them hardcore because they're almost like this experimental sort of instrumental like folk fucking thing. But like then it goes into like these really like punchy like well-paced hardcore style vocals. But like I've never found a voice like this guy. I've never really been able to do that. I'm trying to remember because I know this guy's name. Let me just try to pull up that right quick. In his new band, I shouldn't mention his new band because also fuck yeah, this guy definitely, he puts in the work. He's a talented guy. He deserves all the things coming to him. Let's see. Pollard. So Pollard is his new thing. View page. Yeah. So I'll try to link this in the description as well. Yeah, Pollard is his new. Let's see. Where's the Bandcamp? You got a Bandcamp, bro? Yeah, he does. There we go. But yeah, so he ended up moving out to New York and doing this, which is a completely different vibe. It's much like what happened with Jack, where it's like, with William Boney, merchant ships to the Nola, Norfolk, sort of all that vibe. But I think that these are excellent. We'll definitely fucking do a Jack section. We gotta talk about that boy too. But for Grand Rapids, I think that you guys gotta try out those two albums. That's what I'm definitely putting my recommended. And I mean, I guess let's just all right, come on, fuck. There we go. Pulled that back up. And I guess we'll just end it off with my boy. Because we'll just the last 10 minutes, I guess. I mean, like, you know, we'll chill out. And just look up some, like, information, stuff like that. But otherwise, I mean, let's just put on a man. Let's see, let's just put on like a 12. Everlasting Melancholy. That one's a little bit too sad, isn't it? We'll do Adventure Through Thoughts. I love this one. So you guys can hear it, I can't hear it, so this is just kind of a shot in the dark whether it's gonna sound good. But side effects of antipsychotics, movements of the jaw, lip, and tongue, uncomfortable restlessness, sexual problems due to hormone changes, sleepiness and slowness, weight gain, higher risk of getting diabetes. What? 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 My boys have fucking schizotypal, autism, or bipolar. They got higher risk of diabetes. It's a fucking antipsychotic. And your doctor will just give you fucking hands and just like blah, 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 and then these fuckers want to blame San Francisco on me. Holy shit. Oh. Woo. Again, I'm not a medical professional. This is all just, you know, comedy routine. Work of fiction. This is an infotainment show. Welcome to Highlight. But what? Long-term effects. Gynecomastia. Yeah, bigger boobs. Bigger boobs in men. So it's like, dude, like, you got an autistic kid and you're gonna give him boobs? I don't think that's gonna help. Have you tried? So let's just look up the. Wow.
Walk the lonely road.
Taking a guess.
A path I know so well. A place where I can hide without regret or fear.
That's funny. But anyways, the effects of walking is it lightens your mood, you lose weight, both of those are fighting off fucking pills, enjoy a longer life, strengthen muscle, like all this stuff. You know, it's like this is just again. These are the side effects of walking. It's simple. You just walk to the store, you just walk to the park, you can just walk. You know, it's like this is where like it's really frustrating that we haven't talked about localized urban areas and localized cities because that's really what we need. So that was 2 minutes of his music. That's us trying to have music and all that shit at once. But yeah, so the benefits of walking are that, like, literally you got better fucking blood, you live a longer life, you lighten your mood, you lose weight, you strengthen your muscles, you support your joints. Like, come on. And like the antipsychs, like, let's see, side effects of Xanax, guys. On ice? Shit. Fucking Xanax gives you sleep problems? Holy shit. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, so, alright, this is a little bit of personal info, but when I was like 3 to 4, when I was 2, I've always been an insomniac. I've always had problems sleeping, just a little bit of, you know, like, wired. So my mom would give me fucking Xanax to knock me out, and that shit didn't make me sleep. So yeah, what the fuck? But yeah, slurred speech, trouble concentrating, poor balance or coordination, memory problems, yeah. Like, memory problems. So you're telling me that, like, when the question comes about weed for kids, or yeah, you know, like cannabis for kids, it's a little bit difficult because I don't really want kids on any substances. But if you're already giving them this stuff, So health effects of stimulants. Heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, decreased sleep and appetite, malnutrition. And like, okay, so you got the malnutrition from stimulants, right? And then you've got also got gut health and autism, where it's like studies have shown that they have distinct gut gut microbes. I'm pretty sure like there's like another one where I got a joke that I can't say because I'm trying to keep this show classy. So yeah. I mean, all right, fuck it. No, first episode we'll keep it classy. So 30 to 50% of children with autism also have chronic digestive problems, which weed can help with. So 83% of them had severe autism. At the end of the study treating their gut disorder, 17% were severe. So, like, guys, like, why the fuck are we giving them stimulants? Why the fuck are we giving them Xanax? Why the fuck are we giving them antipsychs? When it's like, what proof do we have of this actually being sufficient for treating these children? What proof do we have that it's any fucking good? And just generally, I'm playing with my fucking face. But, it's like, why be wired this way? Why? Obviously, this is natural. Supports farm. It's USA grown. Like, there's just so many things that are built into weed that it's like, if we're going to prescribe for these things at all, which I honestly am skeptical of, then come on. A story I pitched that I think is awesome that couldn't get published because there's not a freelancer budget, but I'm still trying to work on, and maybe that probably will be a segment tomorrow, is that, so if you don't want people who use cannabis to drive, studies have shown that it takes 5 to 7 hours for it to not impact them. So if you have people who are using cannabis medicinally, they're likely using it in the morning to address like pain or light psychological issues or whatever they do. So then you have people who can't drive for 7 hours. So if you want to restrict people from driving the same way and treat it in the same categorization as drunk driving, you have a moral duty to either do this and create walkable environments that rely on public transit. So it's like, if you have an environment in which somebody can walk to work, walk their kid to school, walk to the hospital, walk to the library, walk to the grocery store, walk to everything that they need to do, then yeah, sure, you can't drive high. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because you can just live. You don't need to drive. Therefore, you can just, get high in these environments that, just live your life. And also, I think that these cities are much more healthy. They fall within the traditional urban model, which I think has a lot of strengths that we simply forgot in the highway mania and the decentralization in America. But considering we live in the decentralized post-Cold War environment where most people, maybe not most, but a lot of fucking people live in the suburbs and in these disconnected segments where they cannot get around without a car. I live in a city. I live in a fucking city. I live in Detroit, and I still, so most places I've lived, I did not have access to things easily. I'm not going to complain now because I'm grateful for my situation. But in other places in the city, I know it takes like an hour to walk to the nearest grocery store. It takes an hour to walk to work or further. In like public transit, dude, you're walking because it's faster. Like public transit can show up between 40 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes late. So it's like you're talking about these environments where simply the car is the law. It's the only way you can get around. If you want to treat people like legally and you want to like discriminate against them and you want to punish them for high driving, then I would say you have to treat it differently. You have to, because blood content does not fucking indicate how high people are subjectively. Tolerance is such a fucking key component in it. And if you want to treat it like drunk driving and you have this world built up where the car is the only way you can get around and you have people who are using it medicinally to get away from pharmacology, I think that this is a distinct and huge moral issue. I think that there is a distinct moral flaw in setting up this system because you are forcing people to rely on pills and the car to live the easiest and most advantageous lifestyle with the least in the least obstruction to it. So if somebody simply wants to get off chemicals, get off mainstream pharmacology, and get away from those corporations, you are forcing them to choose between medicating at inconvenient times for them, where it's like maybe they can't get to work because, you know, it's like if they have a job at 9 a.m., they have to wake up, go to work, and then they cannot medicate. So like maybe they have chronic pain and they're just like their back's on fire all fucking day until 6 p.m. where they can get home. And finally, after driving and working and already dealing with all the stress of their day, they can finally feel decent for like 3 hours before they go to bed. You know, like, I mean, that's an exaggeration, maybe like 6 hours. They're probably going to bed at like 2 a.m. But still, you know, like, I just think that like, people aren't putting all the pieces together because, like, it's just like weed. The reason why it's so frustrating to me is that people don't look at it objectively. People don't look at it with education. People don't look at it with experience. And I think if they did, they'd see much more potential, and they'd see that it's not this big fucking terrible thing that they fucking paint it out to be. You know, it's not gonna make your kid stupid. It just might stop people from getting the shakies. Come on. Anyways, thanks for tuning in to this episode of High Lit. We'll be back on Friday. We're doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, hour a day. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in again. I'm just gonna repeat myself, and see you soon.